Hey, this is Carl with NewSeptic.net. I'm going to show you today how you can design a mound system with NewSeptic. I had already entered a parcel into the quick start form. I'd entered an address in there. This is for a project for a builder that I'm going to be doing. So I'll just click on this design tab there. And what NewSeptic does is it's telling me that no soil test profiles were entered. So basically what I did is use the quick start form, which allows you to enter in an address and some loading rates. So basically I was able to look at the soil test report and generate some loading rates based on just looking at it. And sometimes soil evaluators will even give you those loading rates. So that's a handy way to get any project, up and running real quick. So basically, I could click on this design plan button right here, and I can also design using the map. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and click on the map, NewSeptic mapping application. So there's other videos on our YouTube channel on how to set up your parcel for your project, and this one's already set up, and basically NewSeptic should load in the surrounding parcels, which are these gray lines here, and also the 2-foot contour intervals. So that's what you're seeing here, and the red parcel, red line is the parcel map and parcel line for our particular parcel that we're going to be designing for. So what I usually do is I'll turn on the aerial image just to give me an overlay on what's going on. It looks like there's a kind of a swale here maybe. This looks like a hillside here because I'm reading the contour. Up top here is 1018 and then down at the bottom is 1010. So it looks like it raises a pretty good distance. So just to check that, what I can do is click on the slope tool, and it's this little S here with the cursor, and click on that once on the left-hand side and bring in your cursor over to the map and click once and then double click. And it looks like that slope there is like a 15% slope. So that's getting into that range where you might not want to put start loading a lot of sand and materials on that because you might be at risk for like slippage of that material. So what I'll do is I'll click on this trench tool, click that, and then come over to the map. And I'm going to start on the west-hand side here of the map, and I'm just going to start drawing along this contour line here. So just click once. You can add vertexes as you go, and it'll show you the distance you've gone so far. So just keep clicking, and I wanted a 150-foot mound, so we'll click that. And what happened is NewSeptic thought I was clicking on the test hole, so if that ever happens, you can just X out of that. So that little message, it disappeared before I could show it to you, was telling me that when you start drawing a trench or spray or anything like that, that's like a soil absorption component, NewSeptic will do a spatial search on the closest test hole and set that as your project test hole. And this one, there's only one test hole, and it's soil test 1, so that's what it was telling us. So for now, what we can do is the trench tool is pretty unique in that you can see that these additional steps that are available up here underneath this trench line. So it's showing us this M, which stands for mound, this LTF, leaching trench field, or low pressure pipe. So we're going to be designing a mound system, so you can click on this M, and it'll bring up this mound details window. And basically it's telling us no soil profiles are entered. If there were soil profiles, it would attempt to generate a sand depth that you actually need, but it just set it to the minimum. So let's say we want to do like 12 inches. We can set that, and we can just click generate mound. and NewSeptic will draw that mound for you. Something else common when you're doing mound systems is you want to generate an equal size replacement area, and that's why this little RE button has popped up here. So you can click on that, and it'll generate this equal area. So if you want to move any of these components, you click on it once and then click again and hold it, and you can move it. So let's zoom in here just to show you another feature. If you wanted to click on this once and then right click, you could edit these vertices. So then you could make it bigger or something if you wanted to do that. So, and then just click off of it if you want to get back to that being unselected. So you can draw, there's a lot of tools over here that you can use to annotate up your map. There's a guide here. So if you click on this guide, it will load up and show you all the tools and what each one of those does. You certainly can call us too, and we'll help you out. But just to get started, your basic, what NewSeptic is looking for a basic system. What I like to do next, I would draw what I call the treatment train, and what's commonly known in the industry is the term treatment train. It's like all your tanks in sequence that you're going to be using for a project. So there's this treatment train tool. There's other videos on that, but basically you can use that to generate and save lists of treatment trains that you commonly use. So I'll click on this tool once, and then you're going to come over the map, and wherever you want your tanks to go, you're going to click once, and it'll bring up this treatment train window. You can also add individual tanks like septic tanks or dose tanks or pre-treatment tanks with these buttons here. But what I found is a lot easier is just to generate this treatment train list. So what I've done is I've entered in a bunch of different treatment trains that I'll commonly use when I'm designing. So I have like a Uniontown 3-bedroom mound. As Uniontown, I just had named this myself. Just Uniontown stands for the local septic tank manufacturer. So I'll click on that, and then it'll preload my treatment train. So you can save new lists, you can generate new lists, and like I said, there's a different video on that. We can actually load treatment trains up for you if you want some help on it too. So what I'll do is I'll click draw treatment train. So NewSeptic has all the dimensions for the tanks loaded up into our database. So we already drew these tanks out, and the way it draws them is it draws them going south. So it'll start your treatment train with the first component, like your septic tank, and then your dose tank. So what you can do is just to make these look a little nicer, click on them, and sometimes it's a little tricky to get these, but drag them and make them fit a little bit nicer. So if I hold the shift key while one of the tanks is selected and click on the other one, they'll both be selected then, and I can spin them around just like that. So let's say we want the tanks over on this side of the property. So all right, so we have our tanks on there. And the good thing about this is you can save the map now or whenever. I would say save it frequently, and you can always come back to it. You can print this off by going to print view at any time, and we'll go over that real soon. But so now what NewSeptic is looking for is drawing a sewer main. So there's 4 different pipe tools: sewer main, distribution main, force main, and lateral. So I can go over those in a little bit, but the sewer main is self-explanatory. Just click once, and then you want to connect it by double clicking to your tank. So, At this point, what NewSeptic does is it'll track all your elevations as well. So if I click on this little enter level measurements tool, I can see that NewSeptic has taken those level measurements and put them into this like handy form to visualize. So we have individual forms for each system type: spray, leaching trench, and low pressure pipe. So it's pretty helpful to kind of get a visual on what you're doing, like it's showing our house at grade. There are explanations for each one of these abbreviations, and it's a little tight to fit everything on this one window, but if you follow the pointer down, you can kind of see what it's getting to. So the house at grade point would be where we started the sewer main. And from there, it's going to just generate a generic 1.5 foot or a little bit less than 1.5 feet lower to represent where the sewer exit is, sewer pipe exit. And then our tank at grade is where we ended the clicking of our sewer main. So you can see that it's a full 0.6 foot lower than from our start. So that would be where you can check your distances and make sure everything looks good. So you can change this at any time, and that's what this form is for, and save it, or just keep it as it is. So next we would want to grab our force main tool, click on that, and what we would do is just start at our dose tank and just start coming up here, clicking. And if we're going to do like a center feed, just come around the backside and just double click to finish it. So just like that before, you can click on this, right click, and edit vertices, and you can, once you see this blue little dot, you can come along and edit the location of that pipe. So this little notepad here will track all of your measurements that you've done. So it'll track components that you're drawing, and it shows you the field measurement, the mapping measure, sorry, that we had measured. And the field measurement is something that you can edit. So say you were out in the field and you actually measured from the bottom of the dose tank, followed it up, and what actually you measured was, say this pipe was 215 foot long. You could enter that here, save it, and you can always come back to that and edit that anytime. So what I like to do, I save the map frequently. You can hit Control S, and that will save the map as well. There's shortcuts for a lot of stuff, and you can check those out in the guide. So right now we have the basic components of this Mound system. We could annotate the map with hardscapes and water systems. We could add a house and stuff like that. But for now, for this point, you can add also measurements, stuff like that. But for now, let's just go click on the print view, and it'll save the map for you automatically. It might take a second to load this up. So what the print view has you looking at right now is it automatically scales to 1 inch equals 50, and we put the title together for you up here. You can change that. So we're automatically labeling all these individual components that you've drawn on the map, like the force main and the tanks themselves. So that's a huge time saver right there. And you can click on this Edit Labels button over here, and you can tweak any of these labels by hitting that, and then you can select which one you want to edit. Let's say you wanted it to be on the left-hand side, and you wanted to save that. So right there, it's showing up. And the way that this does, you can change the color here, but this is pretty basic for right now. That we're looking to build this out to where it's a little bit more simple for you. But you can spin the label with using this dial here. So that's it in a nutshell. If you click on this print PDF button, let's say we wanted to move this over here, and you wanted to say show a legend on the map. You could print this off by clicking the print button, and that's generating a PDF of that image, this map here. So it might take a couple of seconds to generate that. But so you definitely could go and annotate this up a lot differently with. Okay, so that popped up on my other screen here, but so we add the title at the top. And this GIS legend, it automatically pops up here. So this is a scaled 1 inch equals 50 map. We just automatically put a north arrow and the scale down here. So you can generate as many of these as you like. It was a little slow coming up because I actually have an external hard drive plugged in. It took a second to boot up because that's where my saving documents are going. So for this, the next step you can do to generate a full set of plans is click on this Generate Design. And it automatically figured out that we're trying to design a mound system, and you could select the dose method and click Generate Plan. And what NewSeptic does is it takes all the lengths and the elevations and puts it into our calculator and all the products that you've used. So this is our Mound calculator, and it's very similar to all our other system type calculators. There's a building section up here, building and soil and tank section. So it'll go over your flow rates, your loading rates of the soil, your slope, your tanks, whether you want pre-treatment or not. You can change any of these where these yellow or orange change icons or buttons are. You can click on those and bring up a specific window. And the reason that is because if you change some of these components, we want to make sure that we have a proper pump selected for your application. And that's one of the benefits that NewSeptic does is it'll calculate your pump and dosing schemes on the fly for you. So if you make a change to like the force main or the static lift, which is calculated from the level readings and stuff like that, that we had talked about before. So here's your level readings from your map. If you wanted to change like your pump outlet, say the top of the mound ended up being a little higher on the top of pipe. Let's just do 2010. Save that. NewSeptic will check some components out for you, and it changed the static lift of your application. And we also, will get a new pump for that every time. So every time you make a change, we double check all the calculations and redo them actually. So you can click on the change pump. So every time you make a change or every time you're working in the calculator, not only do we pick a pump that will work for your application, we also select a list of viable pumps that will also work. So say you use Champion pumps, you can start typing in the manufacturer distributor name, Champion, and you'll see the list of Champion pumps that will also be viable for this application. So there's a lot to this form. Basically, NewSeptic will check a few things on each one of these. We're checking your percent flow loss first to last orifice. So with this, that's a little bit high for this application, 26%. What you could do is change certain aspects of your design plan to work around that. So you could change the configuration to like a double center feed and save that. So that brought your percent flow loss down because the lateral sizes are actually a lot smaller. Just different ways you can tweak your design. You can change your control panel, and you can actually set preferences. So that's you could go to set those preferences by clicking here, or this edit preference tab link underneath of your email. So for this demo, let's just say that we're satisfied with this mound. We can click on the Generate Design Plan button. And NewSeptic is working on generating, when you click on that, list of PDF documents that we can fill with the data that you just generated. So you can uncheck any of these. Say you don't want the soil report, you can uncheck that, and then click this Download Plan button. And this might take a minute. I do have that external hard drive plugged in, so it's probably loading up again. But we have about 1,700 to 1,800 templates in our system here. So NewSeptic fills in the data that you're generating and popped it on my other side. So we have our title sheet, and you're seeing the list of products that we've selected for this. We calculate the tonnage of sand, the ton of gravel, piping, fittings. So a list of plan contents and your design firm information. This is all coming from the property form. We generate a unique link for every design plan that you can click on and get the full product spec sheets with each plan. So this link will remain the same throughout. We never duplicate any of these, so it's a pretty short link that you could actually email to someone, and if they wanted to download. And the thought behind this was to kind of get rid of all the emailing of product spec sheets, and if someone wanted to download something from NewSeptic, they could definitely go here and download that. So here is the elevation measurements that we saw, and those are coming straight from that form. And there's a side profile for each mound configuration, so you can check that out. Here's their dosing information, time dosing details. This was a soil form, and we didn't enter any soil profile info in here. And here are all the calculations. For every system type, we have a list of a detailed explanation for all our calculations. And if you click on that link, you can see a detailed list of how the system calculations work in NewSeptic. So there's some construction notes at the end there. So this is a full plan that you could definitely email to an inspector and have them understand your project pretty easily. And that was all generated pretty quick, about 15 minutes to generate that. So that's how you would design a mound system, and that information is saved. So you can definitely revisit this by clicking on the logo up top, and you could find that project again and click on the design and go back to your same map that you were working on. So this is a pretty easy way to manage projects with NewSeptic, and hopefully you can find this pretty helpful. So contact us if you have any questions. Thanks for using NewSeptic.